So we're going to start with our first presentation, developing and facilitating a successful aggregate statistics course by Ruslan Fleck from Boston Community College. I'm the moderator. My name is George Rose. I'm also from Boston Community College.
So I actually met George when I started developing a hybrid statistics course about two years ago or so. And actually, this goes back to what George was saying on the stage earlier, is that actually the way that I was asked to do a hybrid statistics course was by the administration. So it's one of those things where this particular innovation actually benefits the resource side of things. Because one of the biggest reasons for hybrid courses, as it was explained initially, was that we were running out of space and this is common to many colleges, there isn't enough space to offer courses fully, right? So one of the ways to get around that is, okay, you can make either online courses or you can make hybrid courses. So by definition, I'm assuming you know this, but I'll just mention that a hybrid course is a course that contains about 30 to 60% online material. Right? Now, that justification for a hybrid course did not make me as an educator very happy. Because it seems like, okay, so we're just basically taking our students or giving them less time, less face-to-face time. So I wanted to see, is there a way that this is actually going to be beneficial to students, not just beneficial for the structure of the university on the administration. So I designed a course that actually, at the end of this course, students benefit from the fact that it's a hybrid course. Okay, so the hybridization of the course is not something to just open up more classroom space, but it's something that actually introduces students to tools and to ways of thinking that they might not have done before. And most importantly is that when I designed, so the reason why, I'm a mathematician, I'm not a statistician, but one of my favorite courses to teach is statistics for non-STEM students. And because it is essentially, it's an excellent course for measuring students' quantitative literacy. It's not a pure mathematical abstraction course. It's a course that should be presented as context first, where mathematics is only used to meet a certain end. So that's how I designed my course. And I didn't know how long these presentations were going to be, so I'm going to skim through this really, really quickly, and I'll make this available. I'm assuming it's going to be available on perhaps some website, but you'll see the full presentation. Because I'd rather just show you the course and so you see what it looks like and how students use it, because that's more interesting. So this is a long description of generally what Math 120, which is the number that we have for statistics. But in my section, and even before it was a hybrid course, the way I teach statistics is I always tell my students it's a project-oriented approach. So from the beginning of the class, they have a goal, and their goal is to come up with an original data analysis project. And I do mean original. They use data, so the data we've always used is the data from the United Nations Human Development Goals. UNHDR, and I'll give you the website later. It's an excellent source of data. What it does is it keeps track of 187 countries around the world, and it has different variables. For example, poverty rate, unemployment rate, robbery rate, things. And this is something that students are actually interested in and they can understand. So when they come into when we're introducing the concept of a mean, I first talk about the story of what is unemployment rate, and through that I can get to see if the students understand concepts like percentages, because that's really what rate comes in. Like that's the math concept. But when they say the average unemployment rate, they actually know what they're talking about, as opposed to just giving them a bunch of numbers and saying find the average. Right? Those are two different ways to approach the same mathematical outcome. So that's why I say that this section of the course is really oriented toward a completion of a final data analysis project. And to really see if student grasps quantitative literacy is very hard to do by exams. That's another thing that I have an issue with statistics courses that are based purely on exams. Because the student needs time to really absorb what they're learning. And then I want them to explain it to me, because that's how I know that they learned the idea and not just some routine way of coming up with a numerical answer. And this particular, so I used the Blackboard format and this hybrid idea to do exactly that. So the course, so the reading for the course and the videos, so there's reading and videos. So there's a textbook, which is essentially statistics, that's the one we chose to use. Then there's online lesson notes, which are made by me, and I will show you an example of what they are. And actually, a lot of my students look at those first, and then look at the textbook if necessary. Because what I do really is I take out the important concepts from the chapter and put it in a slide form. So there's really a little piece of information on a slide, as opposed to a giant section of a chapter, where a student can get lost in what's really being said there. And then I also have video presentations that I carefully selected. I looked at many different places, and there's a lot of really bad websites. So you have to be careful when you tell your students, Google some sort of statistic terminology. About 50% of the time, they're going to get something that's wrong. I've seen many bad videos out there that exist on YouTube. So I don't want my students to do that. I have to watch the videos myself and make sure that everything that's in those videos actually makes sense. And as I told you, there's the project, which is based on the United Nations Human Development Reports. And they also get to use their first statistical software. And one of the nice things about the textbook is that it comes with this really simple statistical software called Selfdiscipline. It comes free with a book. And also, we have a deal with the publishers that as long as our class, so as long as the majority of the class is using that textbook, they all can have access to Selfdiscipline software. Because, for example, if they bought a used copy, then the disc wouldn't come with it. So what I did is I actually put the Selfdiscipline software on the Blackboard website, so they can download it onto their computer and use it at home. It's a very simple software. It's nothing fancy like SPSS. They don't need that at this level. They just need to start understanding how to use these kinds of methods. So they create scatter plots, they create histograms, they find means, because the data sets that they're working with are real data sets from these 187 countries. Right? So I'm trying to move away from, let's figure out the standard deviation by hand. Yes, it's a lengthy, annoying exercise. And I think a lot of students get nothing out of it. When we have a computer that figures out what a standard deviation is, and we compare standard deviations between different distributions, then they understand what standard deviation is. So I'm more interested in them understanding what the concept is, rather than the actual mathematical steps to get to it. Okay. And also, Microsoft Excel and Microsoft Word is available. I don't know if you know this, but all CUNY students and all CUNY faculty can get it for free. The new Microsoft Office is available at CUNY Mall. It's for no charge to CUNY students or CUNY faculty. So I can require all of my students to have Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel. It's free. Okay, so I wanted to talk about a lot of stuff, so I'm not going to do that. I want to talk about how the class is structured online and what are the benefits of it. So first I'm going to talk about the benefits, then I'm going to show you what the class is structured online. Okay, we'll look at that later. All right, so what are the benefits that I see in hybridizing the course? So students see the entirety of the syllabus every time that they log on, keeping the big picture in mind. So I'll show you what that means. So what I mean is, students, when you give them you print out a syllabus, it's not every, at every class, they don't just pull out the syllabus to see, okay, this is what we have to learn. However, when they go on the website, as I will show you on Blackboard, the entire course is there visually. So they see exactly where we are and what we're supposed to cover. They see the entire thing. Because I give them quick quizzes, I'll show you an example of what that is in a minute or so. It's a quiz that's created with TestGen and is administered on Blackboard, graded by Blackboard. It's a multiple choice quiz. And up to a particular date, I allow students to take it as many times as they want. Every time they take it, the questions get rearranged. And I've noticed on average, students take it about 3 to 4 times every quiz. And I make sure that they take those quizzes before the material is covered in the class. And this is why I actually call this developing and facilitating a successful course. Because as we move closer to using online resources, then we don't really take on, I have to rethink of my position as an instructor and really think of myself as a facilitator of learning. Because I really don't want to do that much instruction. If we're really moving in this direction, we're relying on students, especially if you're talking about classes that are fully online. You're relying on students' discipline, and you just are there to help them. You're their guide. You're like the tour guide through this particular class. And this is how I look at it. So they read the notes, they read everything before we actually cover it in class. And then they come in with printed materials from class, from the website, and then they can write notes on that. So they get to practice more frequently. I also have them answer statistical thinking questions online as well. And that keeps track of proper interpretation of their methods. So they actually end up keeping a diary of different statistical methods that they can always approach, that they can always refer to. And there, I give them feedback. So I might ask them, here's a picture of something, interpret this graph. Okay? And they will write it down. They just get a point for completing the work. They do not get graded on it. The point of that is that I want to see what they understand. And then I will write a response saying, yes, you got it, that is exactly right. Or no, this is not right, you should look at it a different way. And then I can also see if the majority of the class understands that concept. I know that I don't really have to worry about that when we meet in class. So also there's the added benefit of increased computer literacy at the end of the course, and all of my students have said this. They have become increasingly more comfortable using computers for research, using the internet for research, using Microsoft Excel, using Word, and using Statistics. Some of the students that come in are not so comfortable with computers, even though it says that they have to be for a hybrid course. The other benefit is there's adaptive learning through individual pacing. So I make the entire course available in the beginning on the first day. So if a student wants to go on to the next chapter because they feel like they already know what they're doing, they absolutely can. There's nothing that's preventing them from doing it. They get to see material prior to lecture, which helps. I can monitor their progress very, very immediately. And they're given a structure of how the learning should go on in their head. And they do end up demonstrating self-discipline. They feel more in control of their learning and exhibit more self-reliability. So what I want to do just quickly is show you what that looks like. Okay, so when they go to the course content, they see the layout of the entire course from Unit 1 to Unit 10, and with all of the different topics that are covered in that course. And then if they go into any individual unit, each unit has the same parts. There are lesson notes, which are prepared by me. Then there are videos that cover what's covered in the lesson notes. Then it's followed by a statistical thinking question. which has them answer this question in a block format. So I see all of their responses and then I respond to them, whether they have the correct interpretation or not. There's a hand-in homework assignment, and there's a quick quiz, which is a multiple choice quiz that is rated by Blackboard, and they can take it as many times as they like up until they do. And so this is my third time offering this course, and one of the things when I first developed it is people have been telling me that, expect about 50% dropout rate because students are not comfortable with technical courses. I did not see that at all. As a matter of fact, the retention rate was on par with a regular statistics course, and at the end, they ended up producing amazing original research papers, which I would show you some if I had time. But it was really great to see how the students are learning. Go ahead.
I'm just wondering how you use what's the exam format?
Oh, so I have.
Requirement to
Yes, so we have.
You still have to ask them to calculate, know how to calculate, and
Yes, for small sets.
salary for the computer.
Absolutely, yes. So if I want them to understand the concept, the mathematical concept behind standard deviation, I would use a set of like 5 numbers. Because if I want to test their understanding of standard deviation, 5 is good enough, right? I would make it a very short exercise. But if I want them to compare standard deviation of 2 very large sets, it's unrealistic for me to have them do it by hand or on an exam, right? That's something that they would have to use either some sort of software for, because that's what we would do as educators or as researchers. So in addition to all of this, there are 3 in-class exams throughout the semester. So they do get tested in a regular fashion in addition to this.
One thing is that when you go to the computer lab to do some, because I'm sure they will,
Yes.
ask them to do some
Yeah.
computer.
So the first class, I have computers in the classroom. Yeah. So the first lecture we have, I have computers in the class. So we all go onto this website together. So at
So
Postos,
that
no, we
everybody
don't see. So one of the ways we got at Postos to resolve this issue of labs is we don't have enough lab space. We have very little lab space. So what we have is we have these computer on wheels, which are basically laptops that you can order from the lab center.
So only faculty, only the
No. They gave me 30 laptops for my students for that class. So they bring it into the classroom.
So
And everybody has it, and I go along with, what I'm doing with you right now, I do that for an hour, and I go through some
Now,
examples.
they have hands-on
That's right,
for the first.
for the first time. And then, maybe a few more times throughout the semester, we're gonna check in and we're gonna have one session that will have computers in the classroom. Because I wanna make sure that they understand what they're doing, and also I have office hours where they can come to me if they really are having trouble with just, working with the computer.
So this is a hybrid.
It's a hybrid class, right?
And how often do you?
Okay, so originally, regular statistics class meets, at Postos meets 3 times a week. Since I was in the beginning of developing this, what we did is we made it meeting 2 times a week, and 1 time would be like the online component. So it was only 33% online, which still counts as a hybrid course. However, after doing it now twice, I'm very confident that I really only need to meet with them once a week. Because students have proven to be very, very resourceful. And they really do take advantage of all the stuff that's there as long as you give it to them in a nice format. Right.
Clear.
Right. So,
I think we have to move on.
Sorry. Because next semester, I'm going to offer a hybrid.
okay, so that's the other thing I wanted to say is I will, there's ways in Blackboard, or if you know this or not, but you can compress a course, and then I can email you the compressed file, and then you can open it and make it your own course.
Oh.
And I have no problem doing that. It took me 2 years to make this work. So I have no problem sharing it with anybody. Okay, I'm not. So if you want a copy of the entire course, I will gladly email you the zipped file. And then you can just unzip it, and it'll just repopulate. And it will make the course for you. Then you can adjust it as well. Any other questions?